able to keep up the tradition, he tried to think of ways to help, and thus, the Pain in the Ass-a-thon was born. Geekade assembled their finest game.
On pizza before? It's banging. Trust me, do it. Let me get a chair.
We're still. He won't know. This isn't streamed yet. Nobody knows. It's all you.
Put curry on pizza, steal it. That's actually pretty good because Yokosuka is known for its curry, so that would actually be a cool pizza restaurant. Yokosuka.
Probably would. You're good? Are we actually live? Okay, apparently we're live. Hi, everybody. Welcome to AVGC, of course. I give big thanks to David over there as one of the people hosting this, putting this on. Yeah, there you go. So it was basically David's idea to do this panel. This is a Shenmue specific panel, and he's a big fan. James, of course, also a big fan. Actual voice actor in the game as Ryo Hazuki, Corey Marshall. And then super nerd who actually just likes the game a lot. That would be me, Adam Koralik. How you doing? So I don't know why I'm the one speaking all of a sudden, but yeah, we're going to, this is out live on my channel and probably other outlets, I'm not entirely sure, but basically there's no great plan here. We're just going to do a Q&A and just talk about Shenmue. So anybody, throw the hands up. There you go.
Have you seen any sailors?
Man, you should ask that.
Question number one.
I knew that was going to come up. Yeah, sailors everywhere, right? Just go to Yokosuka, they're like crawling out of the cracks over there.
We should have done this during Fleet Week.
It was one of those calls that they will not use carried by the
Oh, it's funny. I think was it at the tail end of that one that I did an actual cough. And I did it slightly away from the microphone because I thought that I was going to like lose it. But then I coughed anyway. And I said, was that okay? And they actually kept it. Because, yeah, I had done the same thing. I had like choked on my saliva or something. And I was like, and then, yeah, they kept it at the end. It was slightly off microphone, but they ended up, yeah. So it's in there. And I think Paul Lucas... there's a time where Chai takes a piece of paper and shows it in his mouth.
Oh yeah, the Hong Kong ticket.
Yeah, the Hong Kong ticket, yeah. So, see, he did the same thing. He had his notebook that he always take notes on, and he like ripped it out. He's like, and he ate his notes for the character, and he was, and the same thing. He was like, was that okay? Like, yeah, great. Good. So it's when you see that in the game, he's actually eating his own notes on paper.
That's pretty interesting little trivia right there. Just throw them up if you got them. Go for it.
For Corey, if you could name Mimi's kitten, any name, what would you name her?
That's a good one.
Wow, that's a great question. This takes some thought. Do you have a name in mind?
No,
But you're just thinking if I would.
was your line, Ryo's line, you and I have a lot in common.
Yeah.
We're born on the same day.
Right.
I want more from that story, and I think we'll eventually get it. But
You should want more from that story. Yeah, I just mentioned that live on Twitch. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
There's this deep connection between the two characters, between the two, characters, sure, we'll say characters. That people should explore that a little bit more, right? So when you find the kitten, you should come back, you should feed it, you should take care of it, because there might be a deeper connection there that we might see in the future. I don't know. I don't know personally. I'm not privy to that information, but that's a great question about the name, though. You get back to me on that one, because I want to think. I don't want to just throw it out there. I kind of want to think about it for a little bit. So.
Baby boy Dio.
Thanks for that, though. That's good.
Baby boy Dio.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the name of the cat. Baby boy Dio. Done.
Well, then he has to like wear a chain or something.
No, that's what the Abe. There's an Abe store. Constantly calls you. There you go.
What else?
And then like little suede-headed Ryo's the other one.
Yeah.
Suede-head.
Yeah. There you go. That's the name of the cat.
Suede.
So, as a diehard Sega fan who bought a Dreamcast on $99.99, got Shenmue when it came out, got a replacement disc so I could finish it, and read the interviews with Yu Suzuki that was going to be this 15-chapter epic. Is the third one going to
No.
No.
Shenmue
Not 3.
Shenmue 3 has never been intended to be the end of the game.
No.
It's just the next part. Yu Suzuki's been very public about he can do it at least in a fourth one, but he prefers a fifth. The original plan was 7. So to get it all the way down to 3 would have been way too compressed. He probably wouldn't have really liked it. So no, Shenmue 3 is not the end, at least not intentionally. Go for it, Rob.
So, with the success of the Shenmue 3 Select Raptor campaign and the re-releases, the publicity for Shenmue 1 and 2, like, how well does that bode for Shenmue 4, down the road?
I mean, I don't think any of us are privy to any specifics on that, but I would assume that the fact that it's selling well and being beloved has to be like, okay, then yes, there's interest in Shenmue 4. But I think Shenmue 4 will largely, its probability will be based on the success of Shenmue 3 and ultimately the success of this. Because it's a little weird because Shenmue 3 is not done by Sega. So for Shenmue 4 to have Sega's involvement, they would have to like go right back around to it. And I don't know if they're even thinking about that. But, again, money talks. If it sells well, somebody's going to make it.
That's right, though, about 3. It does largely depend on the success of 3 because of the parties that are now involved. So everybody out there, just think about that.
Go buy it.
Go buy it.
That's basically what we're saying. Go buy it. You want Shenmue 4? Buy Shenmue 3.
Buy like 5 copies of it.
Say that.
So, I guess I'm just some dumb with that. Who would play Sega?
Oh, EaseNet. EaseNet is Yu Suzuki's development studio. So when the short version of this is Sega really didn't want anything to do with Shenmue 3, so they just granted Yu Suzuki the license. There was a phase there where a bunch of creators like Inafune wanted to make the next Mega Man, and I forget the guy's name, but the guy who wanted to do Castlevania wanted to do another one. Yeah, there you go. But those the shareholders wouldn't allow them to do it. The same was the case with Yu Suzuki. He wanted to make Shenmue 3, but unlike the other companies, Sega just said, yeah, fine, go ahead. Here's all our permission. But they have nothing to do with it.
Same thing going on with the Okami license.
And what did that evolve into?
Well, I mean, the guy from Clover, what's his name, Kamiya?
Yeah, Hideki Kamiya.
He says he wants the license back from Capcom. He's not giving it.
Yeah, Capcom doesn't seem to play ball with stuff like that, but Sega does. So that's why you're getting that. But their only involvement is technically they're the IP holder, and they provided assets like some of the music and stuff like that. But other than that, they really have nothing to do with it.
Actually, in regards to the other question before about whether or not Shenmue would be the end or anything, especially after all this time waiting, and then is it actually going to actually wrap it up, or is it going to extend? Do you think that Shenmue 3 is at least going to wrap up the more sort of Londi sort of aspect of it? Does it get more Shenmue afterwards, like more stories within the the environment? I know there's the whole the organization that you're part of, and like there's other aspects of it. Do you think we'll just have to wait for even longer to get?
Defer to that, man.
So it seems that Shenmue 3 is going to have a very heavy focus on Londi, at least from speculation, especially from the trailer that they just released, the Prophecy trailer.
Yeah, I was surprised to see him in it.
Yeah, dude, that was like so unexpected.
Yeah.
And like they obviously have a confrontation, and we also can kind of see that the second leader of the Chiyumen, Niao-san, who's also called Gente, I think her code name is. I feel that she's going to be in it. And then there's also 2 other leaders, one named Kote and another one after that. And I think all of them kind of have like this overarching story. And then above them, there's someone.
In 3, just from a story point of view, I couldn't see that happening.
I would be surprised
I would
because
be
then like
very
what happens
surprised.
next?
Yeah. Even though we're going to be knowing about other people in the future, and we're going to get some more story and some more background, and we're going to see some really interesting story development. I would be very surprised if they stopped that particular arc in 3. That's probably going to continue throughout the story for hopefully 5 for our entertainment.
I would love to get your opinions on this, but I would almost think that they would sort of take the vengeance aspect of it and sort of try to evolve that. So I don't know if people need the microphone.
We're live streaming, dude.
No,
Yes,
but like
we do.
you know what I mean, like how the person is out for revenge, but then like ultimately he needs something else besides that to drive him. And I feel like the story is going to evolve from revenge into something else. Like that's my personal opinion.
Yeah.
I think even in the end of, it's kind of spoiler territory. Is everybody okay with that? For Shenmue 2, we're okay? Okay, so, like, Shenmue, like, it's definitely, the revenge arc is definitely a main part of the story, which I believe Yu Suzuki's been on record saying it's, like, a very integral part of the story. But you get kind of hints when Ryo meets Shenhua, you can kind of see that develop into a bit of maturity where he becomes a little more within himself to understand that maybe revenge isn't the answer. Because at the end of the day, he's only doing what Londi did to him if he does commit revenge. So I think that might be a pretty big lesson later in the series.
Especially if Londi has a son.
Cycle continues.
Yep.
See, my theory that we just joked about on the live stream was that Londi is just Ryo from the future because of the scar. And then he goes back and kills his own father for mysterious reasons. There you go, the Sega Saturn loophole. There you go. I just solved it. You're welcome. You don't even need to buy the third one.
That would explain the prophecy, too.
Yeah, there you go. Why
That's
not?
really interesting.
I'm kidding. Spider-Man, bring it up.
Oh, of course. For Corey, what was the most difficult part of recording the Shenmue games, 1 and 2?
Yeah. Difficult, huh? Probably just the scenes where it is fighting and stuff like that, because there's a lot of like guttural sounds and stuff like that. Sometimes that would kind of thrash your throat, you know what I mean? But I talked about this before. I was there all day, every day. So most people aren't used to talking for, 8 or 9 hours or whatever. I had to become used to that. So luckily I am a performer. I do a lot of stage work and stuff like that, so my voice is strong and I can talk for 9 hours. So for somebody who may not be used to that, that was, that takes it does take it's a muscle, you know what I mean? It does take an effort to do it. But yeah, like I remember there were some screams. There are some scenes where I'm, screaming or like fighting or stuff like that, and that does take a toll. But again, with Sega at the time being so accommodating, they gave me anything and everything that I wanted. If you know what I mean? Like if I needed to take a tea break just to get some tea and some honey in my throat, just to keep, But yeah, it's just like, first of all, those type of fighting scenes and stuff like that, but just being there all day, every day, and just talking for that long every day. I'm just, in fact, I don't even know, a lot of the voice actors I know don't even talk that much, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of them will work every day, but they'll do smaller scenes. So even a lot of the voice actors I know, they don't have to do it that much. And that's yeah. So that's probably a part of it right there. But it was it was a great gig, and Sega took care of me. So I was doing okay. You know what I mean?
Go for it.
In the third one, was there any chance we're actually going to see like magical stuff that was always like kind of like foreshadowed, or is it still kind of like sticking to the tried and true, grounded and realistic?
Yeah. Again, I think this is what
James territory. That's what that is.
Could you repeat the
Shenmue
question?
3 is James territory.
he was asking if there'll be more magical.
Will there be more magic aspects to Shenmue 3?
Obviously, like, I've never played Shenmue 3. I don't think any of us have played Shenmue 3 yet, so it's kind of hard to describe. But from a theorist standpoint, I believe magic has been existent in Shenmue since the first game. Like, for instance, dreaming about Shenhua after you find the Phoenix Mirror to only meet her. Or when you get the bad ending to Shenmue 2, she actually talks to you, and he's like, "Who are you?" And she's like, "Quick, come!" And then Londi takes her power for the Chi-Yu men. So I feel like magic has always been an integral part. Also, the prophecy itself explains a story that's actually happening. So I feel like Shenmue 3, I would say it's less magic and more mysticism.
Yeah.
I think is a better way to
To
describe
burn
it.
a hole in that theory, though,
Yep.
Shenhua sells cassette tapes in Japan, so he knows her. So,
Did anyone ever ask you, Suzuki, like, why is Shenhua on, like, chocolates and
yeah, why
caramel?
is she so popular? Because it's all a dream.
That's why he's dreaming about her.
Yeah.
It's just a fantasy in his brain.
It's the Matrix within Inception.
I guess just to speculate on that a little bit more. Yeah, I mean, we talked about this in the last panel, where that moment you're like, whoa, something's really different. We've had some clues before Like you said, the dreams, the prophecy, all that kind of stuff. We've had a taste, a little flavor of that, right? And then at the end of 2, bam! Oh, you know what I mean? Like it's really different. So I would speculate that that's the turning point where things might get more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Just me speaking personally. So.
All right, for that scrap project that is Shenmue Online, did they say that?
No, because they didn't get to that point yet, as far as English voiceover or anything like that. It wasn't necessary.
So I guess they just went as far as making the trailers, but I think it already
What's the name of China?
Wasn't there a private beta test?
I don't know. Officially,
Something
it
like
still
that?
has never been canceled, although it's definitely never happening.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was originally, I think it was supposed to be just China and like South Korea, and then it just fell to the wayside, and that's it.
Yeah. So I mean, as far as we know, right, there was no plan to.
No.
So
It was like their attempt. I think it was an MMORPG using the Shenmue universe, which was like, why are you doing that? There's like a third one. Work on that, but didn't happen.
yeah. So didn't get to me at that point.
I know you guys were involved or are involved in some of the sets of documentary regarding Shenmue.
Yes.
Where do you guys stand with that? Like, when are we going to be seeing it anytime soon? I know now because this is happening, re-release, and is happening. There's probably going to be more to it.
So he's referring to Adam Scipione's Shenmue: A Gamer's Journey. I know I'm in it. Corey's in it. You're in it
recorded
too.
for it,
Yeah. So basically, Adam just went around making this documentary originally intended to be. You remember that game from like 15 years ago, that Shenmue thing? There's all these fans that are like, "What happened to the franchise?" And while he's in the middle of making this movie about what happened to it, it got announced. So it became, oh wow, now it's a journey about fans getting that game, and then. As he's continuing that, oh wow, the re-release is being announced. So like the project has been kind of changing on the fly. I think it's going to be an amazing film because like how could it not be? Like considering how it was started and then how it was always called A Gamer's Journey, and the actual journey happened along with it. Yeah. So they just completed their Kickstarter, and so they're going to go out to Japan. I think is the goal to film more footage. That they have a relationship with Ryo Hazuki, and they're going to be doing more behind-the-scenes stuff. They've got amazing behind-the-scenes access that even I'm like, damn, how'd you pull that off? I don't know when it's going to come out. I would assume next year, but every time you look at Scipione and you ask, he just goes like, because he gets that all day. Like,
That's part of the problem is that it's a gamer's journey, and he's still on the journey himself, right?
It's also the filmmaker's journey.
Right. So that's part of the problem is that so many interesting things are suddenly happening. So that's the issue, really.
It's funny. I live in Chicago, and he came down there in like 2014 to interview me, and just was like, we're filming footage then. Then it gets announced, and I was like, okay, I had to go up to Toronto and film footage for it then, and it's just like it keeps changing. So he's been doing this for years. So yeah, I don't know exactly when it'll come out, but it'll happen, and it'll be amazing. If you guys haven't checked out the trailers, do it. If obviously you're Shenmue fans, you're in the room. So check out the trailer. It's going to be something awesome. Throw it up, anybody. Go for it.
Have you seen Double Wita?
Yes, I've been there 3 times by coincidence. So the first time I ever went to Japan, the first time ever, but the second time I was in Japan, I landed and I got my hotel information. I'm like, oh, that's cool. All right. It's in Yokosuka. Like, the Yokosuka? Wow, that's crazy. And then I'm hanging out with a buddy down there, and I was just asking, like, hey, while I'm here, is it possible to see Dobuita? And he's like, Dobuita? I'm like, yeah. Have you heard of it? He's like, you're standing in it. And I'm like, oh shit. Like, okay. So I'm looking around. It didn't hit me. I'm like, I accidentally found the Shenmue Mecca, not trying to. And then I got sent there for a different reason entirely. Did that, and then I come home and I get a message from Sega being like, hey, we're doing this thing. Are you okay with travel? And I'm like, yeah. Like, where are we going? I was just in Japan. They're like, Japan. And they're like, we're going to Dobuita. I was like, cool. I was just there 2 weeks ago. I can hook you up. Like, I know. So then I'm the one guiding them around. That was weird. But that's a really cool place. And for the record, you did not try hard to find sailors because they are everywhere in there. Like, you can't miss them. They're obvious targets. So
Yeah, because the U.S. Navy base is like right there.
I've actually been to the U.S. side of that. So for those who don't know, the United States has a military base, or naval base more accurately, that's American soil, right there. You have to go through border control to get through it and all that type of stuff. It's basically an American city in Japan. And so I got to go to the American side of that, and you see it in Shenmue, the game. Like when you go to the harbor, you can actually look at like the pier map, and it actually shows you a section. Like that's a real place. You can go there. And then on the other side of it is, you know, Disneyland's interpretation of Japan, because it's half Japan, half America. Like the street signs are Empire State Buildings, just cause. So it's a really weird place, but it's actually very, very cool. I mean, you've been there too. So
Yeah, I've been there twice. Yokosuka, went to Dobuita Street, and there's also a park right by it called Verney Park, which if you go to Verney Park's pier and you look out into the water, it looks exactly like the harbor in Shenmue. You could also take a cruise, and you'll take a cruise down the harbor, so you're kind of going the same way that Londi went at the end.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
I've done a couple of videos on it. One that I just did by myself, and then one I actually did with Sega of that whole area. Highly recommend you check those out because it's a really surreal experience. I mean, some of the places there actually own the fact that they're in the game. Like there's a U.S. Navy clothes surplus shop. They have a big Shenmue poster like right outside because they're like, we're in the game. But yeah, it's a really, really odd place, but really, really cool.
Do you think the people that live there are catching on to the fact all these Shenmue fans are coming by?
You could tell because like for years apparently it was just it was only occasional like gaijins, foreigners who'd show up and be like, I'm gonna take photos of a street. You know, like to most people they don't care there. But now they started giving out these like Shenmue guides. They're like, yeah, this is a way to make money. So like, you put out these guides.
One of my favorite moments of that was when we went on the cruise. It was me, a bunch of people, Phantom Riverstone, and all them. And it was a cruise kind of showing off like the harbor, and it was all in Japanese. But me and my friends were standing there. Instead of listening to them, we're like, oh, wait, that's where Ryo did the chicken run with the Mad Angels. We're like, oh, wait, that's where that happened. And they're just looking at us like, who are these guys? And we're just like,
these nerds. You know, the funny, like, the one thing that I regret about going there is it broke one aspect of immersion of that game. So in the game, when you leave Dobuita, you take a bus to go to the harbor. In reality, you would never do it. It's next to it. So this makes Ryo like the laziest person ever. Like, not only does he not just go down the street, he can't find sailors that are walking in front of him. So
even though he's like running for 20 minutes in the game.
I know. He doesn't make sense, man. You're an enigma. There is no actual Tom's Hot Dogs. However, there is a place called Tom and Jack, which it is my opinion, come on. Like, it's just this big thing. It says Tom all over it. Like, somebody was walking around being like, okay, sure, Tom. And it's funny, the times I've been there, it's been under construction the entire time. But it's apparently been around for a long time. Huh? Yeah, wait till 3 comes out, and there'll just be some dude they hire. Yeah.
Dancing for 12 hours.
Yeah. You know, with the same song on loop over and over again.
One of the other weird things I've seen in Yokosuka, has anybody ever seen that meme of like this dude who's eating a giant cheeseburger and it just like the cheeseburger becomes his head? Anybody?
Yeah.
Am I just like lunatic right now? Okay, so that guy lives there. And there's photos of him all over the place because he'll go into like Tsunami Burger and just like crush it. And you're like, this dude became a meme for how amazing he was at eating burgers. So it's pretty cool. Strange place.
I absolutely love Tsunami Burger. If you ever go to Dobuita Street, go to Tsunami Burger. They have burgers themed after the presidents, and they're so funny.
Yeah, you got the Trump burger, you got the Obama burger, the Bush burger, like the naval burger or something. Yeah. I'm assuming they just phase them out like eventually.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, I don't know. No. But see, they didn't use actual names for the most part, but they used inspiration. So Funny Bear Burger, like that's clearly like just 3 words thrown together. And a lot of Yokosuka is kind of the same way.
Yeah.
Like Tsunami Burger, just cause. Now, granted, there's ones, I don't remember them offhand, but there are some with just weirder names that are just like 3 English words in a row that don't make sense together.
Mm-hmm. I think the closest one that was to the game was Kurita's military surplus shop.
Yeah, that's the one.
The one on Dobuita Street is the spitting image of it in the game.
But that's the one shop that definitely owns the fact that they were in the game because they keep a poster of it right outside the shop. But they're like the only one. Say what? Bring it up here. Yes, yes. That's the meme of the dude like eating a burger. Yeah, share it around if you want. Yeah, that guy's like a real dude who eats burgers all the time in Dobuita. Yeah. Yeah. There you go. In the back.
So did they ask you to come do voiceover for the Sega's All-Star Racing when they had Ryu in it?
No, so for that, they actually took the samples of my voice that were already there. That they own the rights to it, right? So it was just easier for them to take what I had already done and put that into the game. I've talked about this before, where they actually made me come in and say things over and over and over again, even if it was the same phrase or same word or whatever. But that time, they're like, do we need to bring Corey, back from the States? No, I mean we already have it recorded, so yeah,
That was just efficiency.
yeah, it's just stuff that they had already archived, so they just use that. Well,
Oh, yeah, it's way before that, yeah.
So you know how at the end of Shenmue 2 where Shenmue recites the prophecy and then you read the letter from the father, Ryo realizes that both are about him. You think like in the beginning of Shenmue 3, he's gonna be like, this is about me, I should take this seriously. Or he's just gonna be like, revenge. And then Shenmue's gonna be like, hey, prophecy, we gotta do something.
yeah. Well, I mean, we talked about this just now in the live stream that we just did, and I said there's always, I mean, we just talked about it again just now, right? So there's always been that kind of underlying prophecy thing, right? I think probably, again, just speaking from personally, once we get into sort of the middle, maybe the middle arc of the story, if we're talking about doing 3 or 4 or 5 games, I mean, we're at that point now, just personally speaking, that I think, yeah, he would probably realize that indeed there is something different. There is something more to this. Like you said, maybe I need to start taking it seriously because it looks like this might be for real. I think if you find a floating sword in a cave, you know what I mean? That
Something's up.
It might change your mind about things. You know what I mean? Like,
So you think like right then and there he takes it seriously, or it's gonna take a little bit?
well, he's definitely. Again, just speaking from personally, I think he's probably going to have to digest that for a minute.
He
you
just
know?
saw magic, dude.
Right,
Like-
right. Like, oh wow.
Oh wow, I live in a
this-
world where magic
maybe
exists.
Maybe this is for real.
Who knew?
Because I feel like Shenmue is gonna be like, hey, I know you want revenge and everything, but what's the sword?
Yeah.
Yeah,
There was
sure.
he only had one moment before that when they were walking and like she lifted all the flowers and stuff and he's
Yeah.
like, how did you do that? And she's like, what? And he's like, like I mean, he's starting to get it, but like, yeah,
Right.
sword. There's no explaining that. There's no wind.
That's an easily missable scene too, I think, right?
Yeah,
Like, you can just skip right
flower
past
one?
it? Yeah.
Yeah, most people skip over it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, just from a story point of view, I think that this might be a turning point. It's that B moment in.
Oh yeah, the way I often describe how Shenmue 2 ended, like how it can really screw you up, is if you ever see the movie The Green Mile, Tom Hanks, Michael Clark Duncan, it's a really good movie, following a basically normal story structure. You're into it, you're following it along, and then all of a sudden Michael Clark Duncan just grabs Tom Hanks and then barfs out a bunch of bees. You're like, what if Shenmue? That's where Shenmue ends, right there, that moment, and you're like, what the hell was that? And imagine being stuck in a cave 14 years, thinking, what was that? That's basically what Shenmue 2 was. Circling back around to what you just said, Norris, though, I just noticed this for the first time, and I'm wondering if I'm completely wrong. So we'll do this journey together. But forgive me, I did not play the English dub of Shenmue 2 very often because I was usually playing the Dreamcast version. So I noticed the end of Shenmue 1, you just hear this random narrator read the prophecy. I think, and I could definitely be wrong, but I think that's the same voice actor who plays Shenhua's father. And I think it's the same voice. And I'm like, what if? What if that's her father reading the prophecy? What if that's some sort of connection? Or maybe I'm just hearing what I want to hear. Yeah, in the English, well, I mean, maybe in the Japanese version it's the same actor twice too, but I could only tell comparing it in English, and to me it sounded like the same person, but I could definitely be wrong.
When I played the Japanese version on HD, that's the first time I ever played the Japanese version.
Yeah.
It was just silent.
Really? Huh. Then you have to wonder if the English version accidentally leaked something it wasn't meant to. I don't know. We're all speculating. That's speculating. It's like just because we're up here doesn't mean we know anything, Anyway, next question. Go for it.
So Yu Suzuki says he wants this to be like, what, 7 games?
Original plan was 7 games, I think 16 chapters, but now it's condensed to minimum 4. He would prefer 5.
So you think that in the future he's just going to, as technology advances, he's just going to want to re-release the entire thing as one game and just call it Shenmue and something else?
It's an interesting theory. I mean, you would have to remake it because just jumping from one to the next would, unless you did a collection, which is essentially kind of what this is, then it would just be very jarring. It's like, all right, I got on the boat and then I'm in the cave and I walk. Oh my God! It's, like the cave goes from Dreamcast to PS4 in like a moment. It would be a little weird. So I think you'd have to do it as a collection.
But then
Yeah.
again, if this is what you're saying, this is the introduction of magic, what better analogy?
Ooh, yeah, I magically changed the universe. It looks better. There you go. Let's go with that. Sure.
We were just talking about how.
For now, I see the world clearly.
We just talked about how I saw the Infinity Gauntlet over there, and I was like, well, what if Ryo got the Infinity Gauntlet? He was like, well, then he would just make 4 like that.
I just snap and make Shenmue 4.
Done. In our reality. So, yeah, I mean, the way that the games or the chapters are written, yeah, I mean, if you're doing a book series, you know what I mean, I think he probably has the same sort of story arcs in mind, that he does have certain arcs that finish within a full arc, right? So the way that he, I think, has it envisioned in his mind is that he does want to have not only the chapters, but the specific games in mind, just thinking about his thought process in general, because he talks about chapters and that kind of stuff. So yeah, as far as having these arcs, I think his mindset is to have separate games and not condensed.
There is no Shenmue 1 and 2. There's Shenmue with its first and second chapters.
Essentially, yes.
Essentially, yeah, you could say that.
Though, just to be fair, Shenmue 2 skips over the second chapter, which, if anybody's heard the whole story of Chai on the boat, yeah, that's actually chapter 2, which there is no playable build of. It's just kind of a comic book. Then Shenmue 2 represents 3, 4, and 5. So you can tell at the beginning of it, it'll say like 3, and that's when you do all the stuff in Hong Kong. 4 is all the stuff in Kowloon, and 5 is the Guilin stuff. Yep. So by the end of Shenmue 2, you're at the 5th chapter of 16, which means Shenmue 3, we don't know how many it's going to cover. At least maybe you do. I don't know. But yeah, he's the best at Shenmue 3 speculation. Like,
well, one thing that's interesting about that though is the chapter idolization, or how we know of it, comes from a old photo of a whiteboard, I'm guessing at Sega, where it says like 1 through 16 or whatever.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
But
or
then,
some fan did it, and he's like,
yeah, right. But then at GDC, when Yu Suzuki presented each tile for each chapter, it looked like Shenmue 2 was chapter 2. So there's like almost
the game
conflicting
itself
information.
contradicts that.
Yeah,
because it straight up says at the beginning what chapter it is. At least on the Dreamcast build. I don't remember if it's in this version or not. Yeah. Ooh. In the back.
Corey, I know when got you to play Shenmue for the first time, obviously. James, Dave, and Adam, what encouraged you to just pick this game up? Like, who told you about it? Or did you fall on it by chance? How did you start with Shenmue?
Start with Dave on that one.
Basically, I followed Yu Suzuki's career my entire life. You know, I was a Sega fan. I grew up a Sega fan. First system was a Master System. I was like the outcast in my neighborhood that way. So ever since then, it's been that way. Like I'm a Sega dude, like 100%, like all the way. So I always picked up the gaming magazines. So to me, Shenmue was just this revelation that was coming down the pipeline. I just could not wait to get my hands on it. And I was there at midnight at 9/9/99, and picked up the Dreamcast. But then obviously Shenmue came out later, and then I was day one right there, and it was just inevitable that I was going to get it. You know what I mean? There was no question about it. It was just the most exciting thing that it was. I just have such great memories of just being so excited for that game and having it come out and then just sort of become this cultural phenomenon over the last 20 whatever years. Has just been it's just been awesome, because to me it was just this game that sort of came, and I talked about it with a few select people that knew what it was, but then everybody else is just sort of like, what are you talking about, GTA? You know what I mean? And it was just sort of like, no, dude, you don't even know the half, and because it was just I haven't been to Dobuita, but I kind of feel like I have in a certain way. Playing that game, it's more of an experience than anything else, than a lot of other games, and to me it was a little bit life changing, and I definitely Japan went on my bucket list immediately as soon as I played that game. I mean, it was probably on there even before that. But I mean, it was just sort of like a life goal at that point. I still haven't done it yet, but eventually, soon.
You'll do it, man.
But yeah, I mean, that's it. It was just an inevitability for me.
You like to play a game of lucky hits.
So I guess for me, I was really little when Shenmue came out. I think we had to be 10, 11, 12.
I'm 31. I don't know what you want.
I'm like a year or two younger than you.
You don't know?
Huh?
What's your age?
I'm 29.
There
anyway,
you go,
so I was like a little kid playing N64, and I kept seeing this thing called the Dreamcast, and I was like, wow, this great new system, right? So I subscribed to the Dreamcast magazine, and after playing games like, Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask and things like that, I saw this game, and I was like, whoa, this looks really cool. And I kept seeing footage and like pictures in Dreamcast magazine. And then one day I went to a Blockbuster, East Brunswick, New Jersey, represent. And yeah, there we go. And pretty much I was looking to rent Dead or Alive 2 for the Dreamcast, right? So I'm young, I pick up D2, totally different game, right? So that would have been a bad night. Anyway, so I go to the counter and I look at the guy and I was like, wait a second. It's after this month. I was like, do you have Shenmue? And he's like, yes, we do. And I was like, yeah. So I picked it up, took it home, right? Played it. I was hooked instantly. Right when in the beginning scene where Lan is like, do you remember Zhao Sung Ming? That's the man you killed in Meng Soon, right? I was like, yo, this is like awesome. So I played it through, and for the life of me, I can never get past the motorcycle scene. So I actually rented it like 4 times and really pissed my parents off. So yeah, that's about it. And then I've been hooked ever since. So
my story is a little different. So the game comes out in 2000. I've got a Dreamcast, and my buddy's like, first of all, I had never heard of the game. I actually had no interest in it. And a buddy of mine was like, we got to rent this Shenmue thing. Like, it's big. It's this weird game. And I'm like, yeah, but where's the Sonic? I want to go fast. So like I went into it with this like closed mind, which was a bad idea. So he rents this thing, and we're playing it. I'm not getting it. I'm not following this. I'm not getting what this is about. And I'm like, can we just go to the arcade in the game? I just want to play Space Harrier. I don't care. And I didn't like it at all. And then I was like 3 years later, and it's very fitting that I'm in New Jersey for this, because 3 years later, I took a road trip, and I was out here. And I brought the game with me, and I said, I'm going to give this another shot, because it's got its fan base for a reason and all that stuff. And I played it, and I'm like, this is the best game ever. So thank you, New Jersey, because I fell in love with that game in this state. So, yeah. You're welcome. Anyone? Go for it.
Do any of you four have a particular favorite music track?
Oh yeah,
To Continent and Sea.
that's a good one. Mine's probably Snowy Scenery 2. That's a good one because it sounds like a full theme, but it's
we're
not.
nerds now. like not even just Snowy Scene. Snowy Scene 2.
I like Free 16 is a good one.
Yeah.
That's the one with like kind of like the dong sound to it.
Sedge Tree is really good.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is with Shenmue music, with the exception of like Tom's terrible song.
Hip Day Hop?
Yeah, I hate that song, man.
Really?
I hate it.
Really? Get off. Get out.
Maybe because I associate it with Tom and he annoys the hell out of me, but I hate that song.
They play Jingle Bells and Double Weta and Christmas.
There is a Christmas themed version of that song, and it was actually released as like a mini disc. Just by itself, the Christmas version of the Shenmue theme. Of course, I've got it because it's awesome. But there is so much great music, and I know we talked about this. I only found this out, and apparently this has been public knowledge for years, but I only found out last month or so. So I don't know the composer's name. Maybe you do offhand. Not offhand. Okay. So the composer for Shenmue did a crap ton of music, and a crap ton.
Ryuji Uchi.
Yeah, he did a metric ton of music. To the point where all the music you've heard in Shenmue 1 and 2 combined is apparently about 20% of what he produced.
Yeah, there's like over 500 tracks, I
there's
think they said.
a ton of it. And Sega, once again, they were just like, oh yeah, you go for it. It's all yours. So he's got all this. That's another thing about the budget that people don't consider. He doesn't have to do anything with the music. It all exists, which is an amazing saving.
And it's timeless too. Like the track they used in the new trailer for Shenmue 3, I think that was an unused track.
I'm
from
sure
way
it
back
was.
then. And that song is amazing.
Yeah, and there's
even in the modern day.
Think about how much unused music that really is. Like the majority of it, nobody's ever heard. Yeah. And I also, I'm not very good with music, but I genuinely pity the person who had to be like, all right, we got this building. It's got like, red bricks, and that one has white bricks. So inside has to sound like this. And the guy's like, shit, I got to pull a random song that fits there. And like, yeah, that's a skill, man.
And there was a lot of people that worked on the music too. You had Ryuji Uchi, Yuzo Koshiro, Takenobu Mitsuyoshi, a lot of guys. So
yeah, I think, with the exception of that terrible Tom song, I love all of them.
Dude, Hip Day Hop is so good.
No, it's not.
Oh, Bob's Pizza is awesome. The Cool Z theme is pretty cool too.
Yeah, I can even handle the Cool Z. I can even handle that over Tom's terrible music. I just can't handle that one. Tomato Mart's great.
That's a good
Tomato
one.
Mart is legit.
That's a
like
good
that,
one.
that one was
Yeah,
like,
that's my
okay, they went into any Japanese convenience store, they're like, done. Like that one, they all sound exactly like that.
And pretty
That
much
and
every
book off and hard off ever all sound exactly like that all the time.
Every song on Guilin as well, especially Cloudbird Trail. That's a good one.
We're such nerds, dude.
How about you, Corey? Do you have a
It's
favorite?
unbelievable.
That's why we're up here.
Yeah, I know. Anyone? Go for it. I enjoy Yakuza. I mostly played Yakuza 0, but that is, I mean, it's basically, a lot of people compare it to Shenmue, and it's probably not the fairest comparison. I think the only reason people do is because it's an open world game made by Sega that takes place in Japan. And it has a couple of other random things like, you know, capsules and kiosks and whatever. But aside from that, they really have nothing in common. That said, Yakuza's really, really fun.
We should change that. We should have a mashup.
If anyone could do it, man. Like,
That would be amazing,
That's
right?
far-fetched when you think the entire shtick is that Nagoshi, the guy creating Yakuza, was a staff member on Shenmue.
oh yeah, there's a lot of people who developed Shenmue who eventually were migrated over there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and why not, right? I mean,
I mean,
it
they-
makes sense. Nefarious underground organizations and all that kind of stuff. So why not?
Yeah, there is an interesting Yakuza reference, sort of unintentionally, in Shenmue 1. You know, your guy in the Guy Industries.
Yeah, yeah.
A bunch of the guys there are dressed exactly like the characters in Yakuza. Like, they look like them and everything, but... So maybe there you go. We can link it together that way.
Should make like a
Was anybody else
Shen.
surprised when they went into Nagai Industries the first time after hearing how horrible it was, and then they're actually not that bad?
Yeah, they're all like really nice guys. The worst
They're, like,
ones are like,
helpful,
what do you
you know?
want? Like,
Except for the
I thought
guy
it
in the
was supposed to be like,
stairs,
yeah, there's
though.
a guy outside
The guy in the
door who's
stairs.
Like, "Get the hell out of
because
here."
there's even a whole scene of that's like the one time in the game where Ryo just says out loud like I shouldn't talk to this person. It's the one time, and then he goes in the room and like all these guys are supposed to be murderers, and they're just like, hey.
I think
we'd be
Ryo
happy to
has a
help you.
habit of just saying things he shouldn't say out loud. Like, you're sneaking into the warehouse and right in front of the guy, you're like, oh, I'll just come back tomorrow night.
Yeah,
Like, good luck, bro. You know?
and they never think to just like close the door.
Oh, man.
There was an interview where someone asked Suzuki if he's going to bring back like the body styles from Virtual Fighter to Shenmue 3, and Suzuki mentioned that since the first game for Virtual Fighter engine, they can't do that anymore. I mean, as in like
That's a valid.
Virtual Fighter engine for Shenmue 3. Does that mean he can't bring the styles from some of the characters?
Basically, the question is, since Shenmue used Yakuza's fighting engines, and they can't do that. Virtua Fighting engines, sorry. Yakuza's fighting engines do that. Yeah, Shenmue used Virtua Fighter's fighting engines for 1 and 2. They can't do that for 3. What exactly are they doing? I don't. Maybe they can keep names and stuff. I assume anything like that.
I know they can't like use the actual engine for Shenmue 3.
Yeah.
And then like make like style like.
Well, they do have currently the rights to Shenmue, or at least 1 and 2. They have the rights to use the characters.
Yeah, they can use like names and all that kind of stuff, but the actual engine, first of all, would be massively out of date at this point, and there hasn't been any.
I know they can't use the actual engine, but like let's say they want to
Use the same moves.
do like the
Yeah.
same moves or
So
My guess is anything like.
fighting styles for the people they haven't used for Virtual Fighter.
My guess is anything like that, Sega was probably like, yeah, whatever, it's fine. That would be my guess, because that comes down to, unless I'm misunderstanding you, that comes down to just like trademarks and copyrights and stuff. And that department, I don't think Sega cares. I mean, they gave them the license for a reason.
So yeah, that's part of the reason. I mean, people have been before the announcement at 3, and people were asking me about that stuff, and I would tell people like, look, a lot of these things are massive, legal issues, and even if Sega says that it's okay, they have to like hash everything out, every detail,
Yeah.
even like the names and the characters and how they dress and like what can we use, what can't we use, can we use the Virtual Fighter, can we, you know what I mean? Like all those things have to be in such detail. And I would tell people, I remember somebody was like, why don't we, and this was again before it happened, they're like, why don't we just do a Kickstarter, we'll get 3 and it'll happen. And I'm like, yeah, we probably would be successful getting a Kickstarter going, but I'm like, then all that legal stuff, it takes so much time, so much effort. I mean, a lot of people have to sit in a room for a long time and talk about that stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And like the re-release, I mean, there was a million reasons this took forever, but one of them was that originally the game had like corporate tie-ins. It had Timex, it had Coca-Cola in the Japanese version, it had Sapporo, it had a bunch of those companies. So when it came to this, they're like, no, you can't have any of that stuff. So they were there was a phase where they were trying to reach deals, and ultimately that didn't happen. So, but then, okay, we have to go back into the source code and clean all that up and change that stuff. So yeah, corporate stuff is always a pain in the ass. Now, in this case, though, it is Sega, but he's right. There's still somebody who has to sign that. Yeah.
And that all just, I mean, some people were asking me, why is it taking so long to get Shenmue 3 and all that kind of stuff? It's like, you have to remember that. You know what I mean? There's so much paperwork and so many things to think about to do, and you know what I mean? It's just one of those things, unfortunately. So sometimes that's why it takes.
So if we were going to guess, I would assume it's going to use all that stuff. Don't know.
Another question for Corey. Do they let you, when you were recording Shenmue 1 and 2, did you play the games first in Japanese, or did they just record it and then play it?
No, I did have the privilege to play it in Japanese with English subtitles. So they gave me, at the time it was the Dreamcast, and I experienced the game for the first time in Japanese with English subtitles. So I was started playing it, and then I would kind of, they did a lot of recording in order. So even when I had to talk to people and stuff like that, they jumped around a little bit because of timing and actors and their schedule and all that kind of stuff. But I did largely record it in order. So it was kind of cool that I could play the game and then go back and record it, the experience that I just kind of had. Of course, you know, while I was there the first time, I didn't have the opportunity to see all of the secrets and all that kind of stuff. Sometimes I would record things, and I'm like, where is this? What? I mean, what? You know what I mean? Like, who is this character, and why are we doing this? And they're like, oh, it's a secret part of the game. I'm like, oh, man. So I realized that, you know, there's a lot of stuff that I was missing the first time around because I didn't know about all of it.
You know what's really fascinating about that, and I know you know this, but you had a Dreamcast build that had Japanese audio and English subtitles, which for years fans wanted that.
Yeah,
until this happened, you couldn't do it, at least officially.
Yeah.
Like, fans spent a lot of time making that same thing happen. And the idea that you just had it, you're like, oh, whatever. like that's so, like, it was so weird to us.
Shout out.
When you first told me that.
I have a follow-up question for you, Corey. When you listened to that performance, did it inform you? Yeah. When you listened to that performance, did it inform your interpretation of the character at all?
Oh, did it influence me on how
Yeah.
I would voice it? Actually, no, because again, I had that character in mind. They really wanted to make sure that I had that character. They really wanted me to stick to that. I would say the one thing that they did like me to do was the fighting sounds. They wanted it to be like that. So the fighting sounds should be similar from Japanese to English, and that's one thing that they did kind of want me to. Can you do it like this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But as far as the voice acting itself is concerned, no, they just liked the way I did it, and they wanted me to do it like that. When I was experiencing it, when I was playing it, I was kind of thinking that, like, okay, how am I going to do it? Am I going to do it? You know, when I confront this scene, what am I going to do? You know what I mean? So yeah, I had that foreknowledge, which was kind of nice.
Yeah.
It gave me a little bit of time to kind of mull over to think about that kind of thing. But yeah, I didn't try to be like anybody else or anything. In fact, I guess I could say maybe I tried not to have any of that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was just thinking, like, well, the way that I'm doing it, when I confront the situation, how is Hazuki inside of me going to do it?
Yeah.
With the success that we've had with Nintendo Switch, I think that we could see at least a remaster.
Are you talking about the re-release of Shenmue 1 and 2 on Switch? I mean, that's up to Sega, obviously. I would assume it's entirely based on how well it performs.
That would be cool, though.
Yeah, there's nothing in development there. It's not like it's impossible, but again, like I've said this before, those sell well and it opens doors. Sega has a lot riding on Shenmue's re-release as far as like the direction of being a company. That's why you got things like Streets of Rage 4. Now, granted, that one was in development for a while, but there's this internal aspect where they kind of want to change and like they want to do more fan-supported content. And Shenmue is definitely up there as like the most demanded thing they've had. So if it sells well, it can change a lot of things. So it's very possible that it could lead to a Switch version.
Yeah, that's they would have to think: is it worth the time, effort, and money to switch it to a different system? Different controls?
You punned. You made a pun. You switch it to a Switch? Yeah. Was I the only one who caught that?
So yeah, I mean, again, he just talked about sales. If it's amazing and they think it's worth it, yeah.
Yeah, they'll do it.
Yeah,
if
they'll-
if there's money.
It's just like I said. Even just with the controls being so different, they would have to
Yeah.
figure out.
Vote with your wallet, dude. Vote with your wallet. Vote
Yeah.
with your wallet. In the back.
This has been a popular debate topic in the Shenmue community. Do you think the series is eventually going to incorporate supernatural elements in the plot?
It already did.
Yeah.
It's the end of Shenmue 2.
Are they going to keep going with that? I think for sure.
Oh yeah, you'd have to. Otherwise, that would just be. Why aren't you addressing that she just lifted a sword with her mind? like, no, we're not talking about that.
Yeah, I think we've been leading up to that point, and
Yeah.
for sure, I think we're definitely going to be seeing more of that in the future. Definitely.
Yeah, I think it's inevitable. Oh yeah, we somebody asked about that. What's the question? Oh, just yeah. Like we said earlier, there was at one point Shenmue Online was an RPG. I think it was set for 2004. 2006. Okay, and then like around 2004, it like vanished. Yeah, it didn't. It still technically hasn't been canceled, which is weird. But yeah, no, it's never going to be a thing.
It's like,
I don't know who's
we're
like.
still technically at war with North Korea.
Yeah, same thing. Like there's an armistice, but yeah, it's like okay, whatever. Yeah, but odds are it's never going to see the light of day.
It did have one of the coolest trailers, though, that China Joy trailer with Shenmue
Yeah,
and Landi.
that trailer in a sense was a curse because people kept throwing out there to make fake Shenmue 3 trailers with that thing. They're like, oh look, Shenmue 3 confirmed. No, that's it. Come on, man, that's Shenmue Online. Stop it. Ooh, most obscure Shenmue item. Oh, that's tough. I'd have to think about that. You got a bunch. I don't even know. Like, that's so hard. No, the VHS tape's easy.
Nah, I mean, you can find these on eBay, but I got this a long time ago. Rare, like, most obscure?
That's so
I
tough.
mean, a lot of Shenmue stuff is very obscure. Like, there's a lot of really obscure stuff, but a lot of that stuff is really expensive, so I never really got to it. Like, for instance, like, the watch is really
do you actually
expensive.
have the legit one? Is that the legit one? Not the Shenmue edition. All right, so they're like, all right, so Brandon's got this like Timex watch like Ryo has. In Japan, Sega actually released one that says Shenmue on it. That's one of the hardest things out there.
I have one.
You.
Nice.
You slut.
I do have some. I can't talk about it. I'm sorry. I do have some concept art that is related to. Again, I talk about future possible storylines, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
That I
Can't say, no.
They said, we'll let you have this as a gift, but please don't talk about it. So I do have, I mean, if you ever rob my house, I guess you could.
Don't tell them that.
try and find it and then sell it on eBay.
That's awesome.
But then we'll know, yeah.
But yeah, I have some like concept art that's actually game built. So they use the Shenmue engine to put together some art, and I have some.
I have a prototype for Shenmue 1 for Dreamcast. I now actually have the Xbox prototype for Shenmue 1 and 2 re-release. Oh, how much time we got? Oh, we're done? Okay. Okay, then we're going to do the reverse here. We are going to give something away on this table. Isn't that exciting? So many great Shenmue things. Too bad it's not any of them. We're giving this away, and it's a Monster Energy drink. We're going to sign it to the first person who can answer a very specific piece of trivia. Now, it's a very, very hard piece of trivia. No, not sailors.
He's right!
The
No, I'm just
question,
kidding.
this is actually legit. The question is, Ryo has had cameos in only a couple of things. What is his most obscure game cameo? I saw you first.
It's not Project Crossroad 2, is it?
Nope. I saw you.
It's the basketball game, the MLB something. He's a black.
You're so close, but I need the actual answer. Nope. What? Nope, you're close though. You're so much closer. Say again? No.
Be careful.
In the back? Nope. Again? You're getting much closer. Nope, you're getting further. Close. Come on, somebody.
Hot, cold, hot.
Nope. It's NFL something. Keep going. You're getting closer. So much. Go to the 2K series and start throwing numbers out. Done. 2K4.
Ding, 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 ding,
NFL
ding, ding.
2K4. For some reason, Ryo has a cameo in that game as an unlockable character. You complete 100 touchdowns or 100 career interceptions in story mode, and you unlock Ryo Hazuki as a playable NFL character. Yep. It was very obscure and very hidden. Give me the can.
There you go.
So yeah, you just won a signed can of Monster Energy drink.
Congratulations.
Sure, give me gold. Thank you, everybody, and thank you to everybody for joining us here at the panel, watching, and of course, everybody online who saw us as well. Thank you very much. And I, of course, want to thank Corey, James, and Dave. You guys are the best. Thank you, everybody.
And give a round of applause to yourselves for showing up to this con in the first place. Means a lot to us, so we appreciate it.
Yes, if you want anything signed or photos or any of that kind of stuff, we do have a table out there. We will be there. Do not touch the marker. Thanks, guys. Yeah, you win. I appreciate it. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah. Grab all your shit.
Oh yeah, that would be bad if I left my games. Yeah. That was a hard question.
Apparently.
I was like,
hey, no,
I guess it's my most meaningful. I just wanted to be close. That's why it's good. Oh no! I'm talking about the
Yeah, no, I never even came with a solid answer. That's regular. Oh my god, yeah. Damn it, that should have been my answer. The Famitsu edition is the rarest thing I own. What's Shenmue Famitsu edition? Rarest Shenmue thing I own.
I think my most meaningful item was my signed US Shenmue that had Corey and Yu Suzuki signed.
I have a meaningful one, but rarest.
Actually, my rarest right here is my GameStop promo art.
Yeah, that's valuable.
Oh boy.
Who's that guy? That's the same guy that's on on the batteries.
Yeah. Yukawa, right?
Oh, Director Yukawa, yeah. I'll be right back. I gotta make sure they stock the stream.
I have a question. We're talking about Yakuza. I'm very tentative. It's one of those things where it's like,
So what is that? This is a promo VHS tape for the What's Shenmue demo with the
that makes sense.
Good panel, dude. I'm just gonna take this off your hand.
Yeah,
Excuse me? Did you get your Shenmue too?
Yeah.